All this Partygate or Beergate stuff is just a distraction. The question shouldn't be who broke the rules, it should be were the rules actually justified? We were told we were following the science, but in reality, we were only following one version of the science, and that version was sometimes very, very wrong. The fact is, people like Chris Whitty were wrong more times than they were right, actually, and in fact, he may well have been more of a hindrance than a help. I would have no problem, personally, stripping him of his knighthood and throwing him in the tower, but anyway, in any other walk of life or profession, if you got things wrong as often as the sage boffins did, well, then you get the sack, wouldn't you? You may be wondering why I'm raking all this back up again. Well, frankly, it's because we've got an inquiry into our COVID response, and I, for one, can't wait for people to be held to account. This inquiry, due to start in 2023, will look at the use of lockdowns and other non-pharmaceutical interventions, such as social distancing, the use of face coverings, the management of the pandemic in hospitals and care homes, the procurement and provision of equipment like personal protective equipment and ventilators, PPE, basically, support for businesses and jobs, etc. Eat out to help out, we all remember that, don't we? But, perhaps, more importantly, it's been expanded now to include the impact that Whitty and Co.'s actions actually had on our mental health and, crucially, the mental health of our children. I hope this inquiry exposes those responsible for exactly what they are. Just think about this. Shutting gyms in the name of public health, turning the NHS into the National COVID Service, dropping everything to focus singularly on this virus, putting millions on an NHS waiting list, creating a situation whereby more people will die as a response, in my opinion anyway, to this pandemic than from the pandemic itself. Completely sacrificing our economy, ruining a generation of children's education, causing a national mental health crisis, a ruinous work-from-home culture. That's lunacy. Utter lunacy. And I'm absolutely convinced that the vast majority of extremely elderly people in care homes would have rather died from COVID than not be allowed to see their loved ones. The reality is, we then sent people who were dying from COVID already into the care homes to infect them anyway, so we might as well have all let them hug their grandkids. I think there's another really interesting element to all of this as well, though. The reason why we blindly went along with Chris Whitty's national hostage situation was because he's a so-called medical expert. So we just trusted him, didn't we? We put him on a pedestal, we elevated him, and the irony is that, after doing that, right now in this country, trust in the medical community has never been lower. You'd probably say that exact thing to your GP's face, but I bet you can't get an appointment with them. There has to be some accountability for what went on, for the damage mentally, for the damage economically. The Hippocratic Oath says, first, do no harm. Well, did they stick to that?